Okay, thank you, future Eric and Todd. Welcome to us, the past Eric and Todd. We are here with Francois and Jerome from Vertex Breakers. Francois being the lead programmer, and Jerome the 3D artist for Vertex Breakers for the game VRacer Hoverbike. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here today. We are pre-recording this show because you guys are coming to us from where?
From France, a little bit south of Paris, basically.
Nice, and it seems we just talked a little bit ago. It's a little hot there today.
Oh yeah, 104.
Which is a little out of character for France. So
it's just going to be 2 or 3 days, but yeah, it's going.
What's that?
What's that in Celsius? Or is it 104 in Celsius?
That's 140.
We're about 40, 41, yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy. We just talked about this. I live in Tampa, Florida. You're actually hotter there in France than you are here in Tampa, Florida right now. So,
but there's no global warming, so
nothing to worry about. Yeah,
it's all a figment of our imagination. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm glad we had a chance to sit and talk. We're going to talk about an amazing game today, VRacer Hoverbike. It's got an amazing story of you guys, starting with this game very early on, and then now bringing it to Quest and just announced now going to be bringing it to PlayStation VR 2 soon. So, but first off, let's show everybody, in case anybody who's watching either live or watching afterwards who hasn't seen what VRacer Hoverbike is. Todd, let's show them the amazingness that is VRacer Hoverbike.
Sounds good.
Hell yeah, man. That is a killer game and a killer trailer. And literally, it's a good game and it's a good trailer when I would just go want to play the game right now. I could be like, you know what, guys, let's cancel the interview. And we'll just jump in and we'll play.
It's just right
here. The interview in the game.
Yeah, let's do the interview in the game. That'd have been fun.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, look, before there's a lot to unpack there for the game itself, and we'll talk about the game. And what it is in a minute, but I want to talk about you guys a little bit first. I'd love some backstory on you, on Vertex Breakers, how this all came together. So, yeah, if you just want to give us a quick backstory on, the whole thing.
Okay, do you want to start or? Okay, yeah. So we met something like 20 years ago. So Jérôme is an artist. I'm a programmer, and we've been doing contract work for quite some time. So anything related to real-time 3D. It started with PC applications. We did a little bit of VR back then. I started doing VR in the late 90s. So that's more than 20 years ago, actually.
Wow.
And so we did pretty much everything related to real-time 3D. So it's been on iPhones, iPads, AR, VR, web games as well, for all kinds of customers. So it could be large companies, like we've been doing some stuff for Airbus, for instance, but also for things like museums, virtual walkthroughs, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
And and so what happened is that after a while, we were kind of fed up, working on contract work, and we just wanted to do our own thing. So that's where we started working on VRacer. And there's actually a story there. So I don't know if I should tell it now, but
it's the best place to tell it. Interview time. Tell the story.
The thing is that I tend to have motion sickness quite a bit in VR. Not that much anymore, but back in the days, like in 2015 with the first DK2 and headsets like that, they weren't as good as they are today. So I would tend to get sick fairly quickly, and especially Jerome had me try I think it was Assetto Corsa. The car racing game.
Yeah.
I can clearly remember just accelerating in a straight line and then just hitting the brakes to take a turn, and just that would make me feel dizzy because you didn't feel the acceleration or anything.
Right.
One day, Jerome comes to me and says, I have this guy who contacted me, and he's actually a real motorbike racer, so a professional guy. And he was contacting us because he was actually organizing a sort of cocktail party for to get more sponsors and things like that. So he had gathered like 50 people, all different ages and genres, and etc. And so he was just willing to let them try VR for the first time. So that was back probably in 2014, I would say. He said, what we want to do is we want to have a little area on our location where we have just one VR headset. At that time, it was a DK2 back in the day, so no controllers or anything. And I'd like to have a DK2 over there, and I'd like to have everyone just try VR, a very small experience. And ideally, this experience would be a bike racing game because, he was a motorbike rider. And so Jerome comes to me and says, hey, I have this 3D model of a Italian racetrack that I've created just for fun. And maybe we could use that, and we could just create a little game with it, and people would just ride one lap as fast as they can, end up on the little board, and that would be just great, And if you're into that, then we can do that, and we have a month to do it. So what do you say? And so I looked at him and I'm like, okay, well, so we're going to have people who have never tried VR before.
Do a racing game.
See this conversation happen.
They're going to do a racing game. They have no time for a tutorial or anything, and you're asking me, who is actually gets motion sickness very easily.
It sounds like a puke fest for you to happen.
And actually, they had no controller, so they were accelerating
Forward
and braking.
Oh, no way! Really?
With only the position tracking.
Yeah, positional tracking. So that was probably the worst idea ever. And
But kind of forward thinking of that motorcycle racer guy to have a VR booth at his fundraising gala.
I don't know, man.
for the time, right? That's 10 years ago. That's pretty smart of him.
Just offered him something. So.
Yeah, he was looking for ideas, but that was his idea. And, so it was a stupid idea, so we decided to do it.
Well, amazing things can spawn from stupid ideas. Like this, and then that was like the genesis of VRacer Hoverbike. It sounds like. So that was 2014. You kind of both you kind of both knew each other. You then start. When did you start the actual? When did you start having the idea of, look, we want to make this racing game for VR to put it on a store somewhere and sell it? When was that, and how did that all kind of take place?
Well, actually, what happened is that we did this little project, and it actually worked out really well. Like, everyone was so happy, and no one was sick, no one was throwing up, not even me. And so it really worked well. So we were really happy with it, and we had I had spent most of my time during that project figuring out a way to make it motion sickness free, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
If there's such a thing, obviously there's some people are more sensitive than others. But anyway, we really worked hard on this idea of the leaning mechanics. So that you could prevent motion sickness as much as you could, and so once we had done that, it just ended up on the shelf, and we just left it for, I don't know, 6 months, maybe, or maybe a year, maybe more than that, and sometime in between projects, we would just pick it up and just play it again, and wow, this is so cool. We need to figure out, we need to do something with it, and so it took a long time, and I think in 2017, we really decided to allocate some real-time work on it, like 6 months or something like that. And so we said, well, let's just see what we can do with it. Let's just push it to Steam as an early access game, and let's just have people just experience this thing because we thought it was so cool. So that's how it started.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great idea, and I love like kind of the beginnings, origins of it, of with the leaning mechanism and with having the thought in mind that racing games are cool, but most of the time, especially back then, and even sometimes now, they can be motion sickness inducing. So having the thought that you found a game, or you found a mode or a way to play the game early on that mitigated motion sickness, especially back then, I think was a cool idea. Is that what brought you back to it? Was the idea of a racing game that had the hook of maybe no motion sickness, or was it the game was just a cool idea at that point?
No, I mean, to me, it was really this system that we had set up. It's not very complex, but it's just works brilliantly. I think it's the idea is just that as you move your head like this, you have the bike that turns, and so what happens is that your internal here. Your brain gets some signal from your internal here that you're moving, and it gets a signal from your eyes that the road is turning. And those two signals, they're kind of consistent together. Mm-hmm. So your brain understands it, and it makes it easier for your brain to actually accept it as being reality somehow.
Yeah, so anybody who's watching, most are VR fans, so they have an idea how why motion sickness happens in a VR headset. But for those maybe who don't, the biggest part of motion sickness is visual movement to your eyes without movement of your body, right? So when you have disconnect from visual movement to your eyes, and then your head is stationary, that's really what can get you motion sick pretty badly. I remember being in some experiences. There was one early on, Todd, where you actually had your head cut off, and like it was a game, and then the campaign, you had your head cut off, and your head tumbled in the air, and when you did that,
the camera was rotating.
You're the head, right? You're tumbling like this, and it would be like, whoa, and and I don't get motion sickness in VR, but even for me, I was like, wow, this is really hard to get through. So when you have fast movement, especially like a racing game, and you're stationary and everything's coming at you so fast, it's very easy to get motion sick. Play a game like Grip. There's a racing game called Grip that in the trailer they have a guy puking in the trailer just because they're like, hey, no hold barred. It was a flat game that they made a VR mode as well. But those are games that can get you really, really motion sick. But the whole idea that you guys came up with of this movement of like, I'm going to steer by turning my head just a little bit, or turning my body a little bit, was kind of brilliant, especially way back then.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know exactly where it came from. It probably came from the limits of the DK2 that didn't have any controllers anyway. Yeah, so we had to figure out something with the head. And I mean, we had a few iterations to make it better because it's not that easy to get it right. But it ended up working out quite well. And the thing is that right now the game, we've reintegrated thumbsticks controls in the game. The main reason we did that is that we had some people who had a injury or something like that, and they couldn't just move their backs because it was hurting them too much, and they wanted to be able to play the game anyway. So we said,
accessibility is important. That's really good that you guys did that. That's cool. And it kind of leads back to why you got sick playing Assetto Corsa, because in racing car games, you get a lot more sick, I think, motion sickness, because you don't move. You're just either steering with a steering wheel like on PlayStation VR 2, or with your thumbsticks, but there's no movement. Flight simulators and motorcycle type games, I think, are the best for, and you guys have just nailed it with the fluidness of moving yourself. I ride a motorcycle, so I totally get the feeling. I loved it.
Anyway, we just put it back because we wanted those people to be able to play. But now we're actually fighting to get the message out that the best way to play it, if you can do it, is just to play it with your chest. Because if you sit still and you just use your thumbs, some people will be fine with that because they have strong VR legs. But some other people, they're like, the first time you pick up the game, if you start playing this way, you're not doing it right. So we have a tutorial to explain that, of course. But this leaning thing is really the core. I think the core value of the product, and then obviously around that, we build a game that would match, the games that we like. So of course, our inspiration would be, we're big fans of Wipeout, for instance, things like that. So
it feels exactly like Wipeout. Like, it's such and people have been crying for years for Wipeout to come. Number one, to come away from PlayStation VR1 only, because it was the Wipeout Omega collection was so good on PSVR1, but a lot of people didn't get to experience it, and it never came to PlayStation VR2, of course, and it never came to traditional platforms like MetaQuest or Steam, where a lot of people could enjoy it. So I mean, this definitely feels like Wipeout to me. Like it did so much like it, but I mean, it's different. Of course, it's not like a direct copy of it, but for me, I think it's almost like an homage to it. Was that kind of an idea that you wanted?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, if I'm talking for myself, but yeah, it's pretty much Wipeout is like one of my. I'm not that much of a gamer, actually. I don't play that many games.
Mm-hmm.
But Wipeout is something that I really enjoyed back in the day. So
since PS1.
Since PS1, on PSP, on every console, basically.
It's such a cool game, and talking about the leaning mechanic again, it's very intuitive. You do have a good tutorial to kind of help you through it, which is great. The whole idea of the lean, especially around the corners, it's more. The more you lean around the tight turns, allows you to go faster through the turns, right? Or have to brake less through the turns. Is that kind of how it works?
Actually, there's a combination of things there. Obviously, the more you lean, the faster you will. I mean, the shorter you will take your turn. But
if you lean too much, slows you down as well. So you have to sort of balance it and just figure out the ideal curve that you take so that you don't slow down too much.
That's one of the key elements in the game, of course, when you're doing time trials, things like that, is that you really need to practice your race line so that you can get the best time. I'm really bad at it, actually, but
yeah, I mean, it's extremely fun. It's extremely cool. It's funny to see how certain people pick it up faster than others. I got a chance to do a play session with some of the content creators. I did a recorded play session with Beardo Benjo, Gamertag, Steve Knows, VR with Jasmine, and David Duggan. And a lot of us had been in for the first time. I think Gamertag had played a little bit. I had, of course, played a little bit. But like, it was Beardo Benjo's first time in, David Duggan's first time in, and Steve Knows' first time in. They were all, number one, blown away. Go watch their videos. They actually are super blown away by the game. But it was funny to see how some people picked it up faster than others. Everybody was good and everybody competed, but like Gamertag had it down. Like, he had the leans down. He knew how to take the corners best without having to brake as much. So I think he had exactly what you're talking about, the fine line between leaning too much or over leaning to slow yourself down, but leaning enough to where you don't always have to hard brake through some of the hard turns to where you can keep your speed up. And that's really what makes a great game, right? Like, if everybody was super good at it right out of the gate, it wouldn't be challenging and it wouldn't be any fun. I think having a game that allows you to feel like you know how to do it and it's intuitive right out of the gate, but it takes a little bit to master, is important. And how long did it take you guys to get the balancing right? So when you're building that game, you're working on the mechanic of the lean to steer. How long does it take you to kind of like tweak that and get it to where you want it?
Actually, it turned out to work quite well very early in the process, I would say. We've been refining it a bit since 2018, but the first release that we had on 2018 was very, very close to what we have right now. And actually, that's interesting because you're mentioning Gamertag being a good player, but I think he has a little secret he didn't tell you, is that he used to play the game back in 2018.
Yeah.
He played it originally when it was on Steam and on
he reviewed it on Steam, and we were in contact back in the day. And while he probably left it after a while, obviously. And he's saying something that's interesting in his review, is that he found that the core mechanics were working really well, but the content surrounding it was not giving him enough stuff to do. So and so that's basically what happened between when we had these core mechanics. We just shipped the first version. We had just one bike, 5 tracks, and that's it. And just a little board, and no no combat mode, nor not anything. It's just a time trial game, basically. And so that wasn't really much content. So what we did over the years is that we kept adding stuff. Since we had nailed these core mechanics, we just worked on just getting everything around it to be, at the same level of quality that you would expect from a fully fledged game.
This is a cool arc. There's not many games that take the path that you guys took. So you guys worked on the game. You came up with the basics that you're talking about just now. This was in 2018 that you launched onto Steam and onto the Rift Store.
Yes.
And then you worked on it a little bit, and then it was there, and then now it's 2025, and you just released it on Quest. So what was the break? Tell us what's the backstory there between where that was and where we are today.
First thing, it's not like we've been working full time 7 years on this.
You would be the slowest game developers I've ever seen.
It has had. I mean, there's been several cycles, but I think what's really key there is, well, there's a couple of things. The first one, I think, is user feedback. We've had user feedback from 2018, and so we kept having feedback all this time about what needs to be improved, what's missing there, what's the big picture, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so there were some times where we didn't have that many players actively playing the game, and so we were just free to just drop whatever ID we had to the build and just throw it out to people and have them react and give us feedback. And so we would refine all the features that way. There's been a lot of iterations of that, and also in this process, there's been long periods where we had to make a living, so we went back to doing contract projects. So we just leave the game the way it was for 3 months, 4 months, and then we would pick it up and have a fresh eye on it. And so we would get a new perspective on what we had to do about it. Going back to the gamer tag thing, I think once we had this first game with the core mechanics, maybe we were a little bit naive about that being enough to make a full game. Mm-hmm. And, we realized over time that, okay, we had this core thing that was really cool, and most people just loved it when they tried it out, but they would just drop the game after an hour because there wasn't that much content in it. And so we really focused on that, doing all the content. Obviously, there's the tracks, more bikes, more game modes, but also all the little details like the interface. If you go on YouTube and you watch the first videos that we had of the game back in 2018, it was just, very flat design interfaces with buttons that you would aim at with a
little laser beam
laser. So it was very, very basic UI, and it was doing the job. I mean, you could access the features, but we just decided to throw all that away and create a brand new UI. And so the idea here is that one thing is to access the functionality itself, but we also want it to be like a nice experience to access that functionality. It's like when you pick up an iPhone and you see all those cool UIs and the way they react to what you're doing with it. That's just part of the fun. And so we wanted to we had the fun in the game itself, like in the races you had fun, but we also wanted to have fun in the menus. And so we designed these full 3D menus that you can naturally use your hands to select stuff.
You guys have some of the best UI in the game. So if anybody hasn't been in yet, like literally when you're in the menu, for your UI or your user interface, like you have a little bike over here, right? And forget about the button presses. You have some of the best button presses in the world. There's no point and click here, right? Like if you want to hit a button, you take your finger and you hit the button, and it feels good. It feels natural. But even just being able to grab your bike, there's a little miniature of your bike, and you can grab the miniature of your bike and you can pick it up and you can turn it around and you can look at it, and you can see your character dressed up in whatever racing suit that you want to wear and color scheme and helmet, and you can pick the character up and you can have both of them in your hand. You can kind of even put one on the other if you wanted to, have the racer sit on the bike. But even more than that, you can actually grab the track. So you see this wire mesh frame of whatever track you're going to look at, but and it sits kind of in the middle. But if you try it, you can actually reach out and grab the map and kind of turn it and look at it, and you can grab different things. Almost everything is interfaceable. You can see the love and the time and the effort that you've put in over all these years to do that. And I think that a lot of developers don't think about those things. I think because they're in such a tight development cycle and they don't have the time to put into it. So yeah, it's interesting to hear that the time gave you things to think about, like UI.
Yeah, and actually there's especially myself, I think I tend to develop things that most people will never use in the game. but it's just like for the 10 guys who are going to find it and like it and love it and just use it, So just one example of one of the latest edition that we created was, so we have replays at the end of the race where you can see your race basically, and you can see the action and people shooting at each other and etc. And so for the purpose of creating the trailer, we had to capture some of that stuff. So we had to do some races and then capture shots of the races so that we could make a cool trailer. So the guy who was working on the trailer didn't have any tools basically to do that. I mean, we have a system that maybe we can talk about, which is a photo mode, but aside from that, he had no way to actually exactly capture what he wanted. And so I came up with the idea of creating some sort of like a video editor. Basically, you have some tracks and you can actually cut. And you can add keyframes and things like that. You can move your cameras around the track and you can save that. You can export that as a video if you want to post that on social media. So that's something that we've launched the game last week. And I think, among all the users that we have, most of them have probably not seen that yet, Right now, they're just playing for pure fun, multiplayer, blah, 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 blah.
Chasing that
hours and hours. But maybe this summer they go away for a couple of weeks. And then when they come back, they pick up the game and they say, hey, what is it that I haven't seen in the game yet? And we want to surprise them every time that they pick up the game. So those are like Easter eggs, maybe small things that we just put in there and we just let people find them and give us feedback, and we will improve them over time. The replay editor, for instance, is flagged as beta right now because it's
a super smart idea, right? Like, what a good way to make your game more socially acceptable and shareable by building in a complete editor that you can make your own videos. You don't have to export all your footage, put it into Adobe Premiere, do all the editing. You can just do it all right in the game and share it. Like, this is so cool.
It's a cool little touch that you put in there. It's like, and like you guys said, like you literally put it in there in a few weeks, right? Like it was needed for the trailer, but it adds so much to the game afterwards and replayability and like having a spot where you can put your picture that you captured up on the wall of your garage, kind of when you're in there. It's kind of a cool touch. The visuals of the game, like having the camera looking at the game, but the in-game visuals, the in-game graphics are some of the best you'll see, especially on the PC and the Rift version, of course, with the power of that. But guys, moving this to, a Quest standalone headset, it had to be a feat. Was hardware an issue, moving forward with that stretch between 2018 and 2025? When the Quest came out, when the Quest 2 came out, when the Quest 3 came out, was there a thought along the line of, hey, we would love to maybe bring it over to the standalone platform, but it's not ready yet? Like, you probably couldn't have got this on a Quest 1. You probably couldn't get it on a Quest 2, right? Quest 3 was there, and then all of a sudden you're like, let's move it there. Was that a thought?
We wanted to be on Quest 1. So we tried some stuff, and we felt that it would degrade the quality so much that it wouldn't really make a dent. So we figured, let's just wait. And so we were coming from a PC version, so you have to trim it down quite a bit to make it work on those devices anyway. But then when Quest 2 came in, Quest 2 was pretty close to being able to run the game when it's first launched. We pushed it a bit more. We started reworking our core engine for the future, basically. We knew that at some point we would be there. We started reworking the code base that we had and the graphics and all that stuff, and started thinking about, optimization mechanics that we could use to make it run on standalone. And then when Quest 3 came, then, it was just ready for it. So there was a lot of trial and error in getting it right and making it run. And there's actually a lot of going on under the hood to just make it possible to work on those machines. Because if you look at the Quest 3 version right now, it's actually pretty close to the PC version. It's just you're losing some of the like the bloom effects and things like that. They're not as good quality, obviously, but it's not like we've been just cutting it out the textures big pixels or anything. It's pretty close.
Yeah, and Jerome, that for you, like being the 3D artist, like, is that a difficult thing for you? Is that what you when you were like, okay, this is my vision of what I want the game to look like inside? Optimization, working on that, losing some of those bloom effects, but still making it feel fast and fun and like beautiful in the game. That had to be a huge part of why you had to wait and to bring it to how you wanted it to look in the final project.
Yes, actually, yes, it's not really a matter of the bloom effect or the post effect because it's quite secondary. It's but more about the Quest 1 and Quest 2 story. It was about reworking all the assets to have some low-res environment, low-res everything. And there's a bit of story here about François, what François has developed for the game, because when we start the project, we have some very long time to build the track because we were building everything in some 3D software. And over the years, François made a kind of procedural track editor we had in Unity Line. And yes, this has really helped us to speed the process of creating tracks and then being able to optimize things like replacing prefabs, and in one click you replace everything in one track instead of doing this manually. So yes, on the process of developing VRacer, there is a lot of things under the hood that evolve so much in terms of process of everything, of tracks, of building the bike, of everything.
Yeah, and actually the track editing thing, yeah, I remember the first tracks that we were created, so they were all laid out we were using Modo at that time, so it's a 3D software for just modeling stuff. And so
more on that, just for the sim racing community, the first track was made with Bob Track Builder.
Yeah, that's
so yes, racing motor will recognize this instantly.
But yeah, so you basically had to export that from your software, bring it into Unity, probably tweak some stuff because every time it wasn't quite right. Run the game, test the game, and that's it. And so there was a sort of a development loop that was very long, and we wanted to be able to try out stuff that might not work. Like for instance, the loops that we have in the game. The first tracks that we had, they were all just flat tracks. And then at some point, someone said, "Hey," so some of our gamers, probably back in 2020 or something like that, someone said, "I want to do jumps, I want to do loops," and things like that. And so that's when I came up with this idea of doing procedural track editing. So you basically, it's pretty much about, you just draw a curve, and the curve becomes a track, and then you can stretch parts, you can rotate them, and etc. That ended up being the tool that's being used for all the tracks that we have now, except for the AGP tracks. And it actually ended up being at some point it ended up being a user tool in the game. So you could actually you would go in VR and you would use your controllers and you would lay out a track, you would press a button and you'd be on that track and you could test it.
Wow.
And then you would say, okay, let's go back to the drawing boards, just change that turn a little bit. And then once you're done with that track, you would actually post it to the server and other people play that track. Now, this thing has been removed from the Quest version and actually also for the Steam version for the moment, because we just had too much work for finalizing the Quest version. But I hope that in the future I can bring this back, because that would mean that users could create their own tracks and do multiplayer on their tracks, and that would be awesome.
Cool. That would be cool.
That would be huge. It would be amazing. I mean, can you imagine having voting on people's tracks and having track of the week or track of the month and being able to vote on it, and have it be like an imagination of anybody who can get in there and create something cool. And I think it's I'll say this to everybody right now: go support the game, and maybe we can get these guys to be able to put it in there and have time to put it in there. That being said, we are going to you are going to support other platforms besides Quest. I kind of think it's been out there a little bit, but do you want to officially tell everybody right now what other plans are?
Yeah, actually, there's also a story there. So we announced we announced that we would have a Quest 3 version back in March, and at that time we were thinking, well, we're pretty much ready on Quest. Let's just release this. Let's do a little bit of guerrilla marketing, and let's see if we can have it be a success. And so we started putting out tweets, and we didn't get that much response because we're just a few guys in an office, nobody knows us, so we didn't get any coverage for that. But we still we had on our tweets, we had the PSVR2 community just coming and say, we want this for our platform. And they ended up talking to the Without Parole guys, who also have a podcast, and those guys were like, what's going on with this game? We hear about this game, we've never heard of it, and then all our community are saying we want this game on the platform. So they reached out to us, and we sent them a copy of the Quest 3 version, and they tried it out, and they were really excited about it. So they started talking about it and starting pushing us, to go to PSVR 2. We said at that time, we're just a small team, we cannot be doing everything. We need to make it right on Quest, so we're focused on Quest right now. They also encouraged us to, get a publisher, which we did, and probably the best decision we took this year. And so now, obviously, we've been thinking about it all along. I mean, since they started teasing us about going to PlayStation, it's like, for us, it's like a dream, going to PlayStation, because as gamers, as developers, having your game next to a PlayStation is something that you really want to do. So
Yeah,
it's a cool moment, right?
Yeah. So we were like, convince us, but we were pretty much convinced from the start. I'd say. Obviously, if the Quest launch had gone really bad, we would probably say, well, forget it. This game is never going to make it. So anyway, recently we decided that we would just do it, and we think we can make that happen before the end of the year. Obviously, we need to be careful because it's not quite there yet, and if we release it, we don't want to just release a half-baked version of it. So we'll take the time, but we think it's achievable to have it for the end of the year.
I agree, and I will say this up front: everybody knows, who we are and what we do. With Impact Reality and Flat VR Studios, and now our publishing studio, Impact Inc. So this is an Impact Inc. title. We work together, Francois and Jerome and our team at Impact Inc. To kind of bring this together. And what you said about PSVR Without Parole was super important, moving forward. AJ was extremely excited about this game. He's the one who kind of clued me into it very early on to talk to you guys early on, as well as Wes and Brian, huge fans of the game, and really wanted to see it come to PlayStation VR 2 and their community, which is great. PSVR 2 community is a passionate community of people that support when they get developers that do bring their games. They do support, they do go out and buy games, and they support those games when they're good games and when they take advantage of what the headset has to offer. And that's what together I think that we'll do that. We'll try and make sure we do that. Make sure we take advantage of what the headset has to offer, and I know you guys will bring a great product to the headset. Hopefully before the end of the year. But we'll have to see how that goes. I'll just like to say, it's been a cool genesis. You guys have a really cool backstory. I love that this game, had originally came out in 2018, and you took some time to really make this game something special. For me, it's the best racer I've ever. There's some decent racers on the Quest. It's by far the best racer I've seen on the Quest. The capability of keeping frame rate up with speed, with almost no motion sickness. There's a lot of people on our team even that are susceptible to motion sickness, and not one of them who has been playing it has complained of motion sickness. Even somebody like Steve Knows, who said he does get a little motion sickness in some racing games, said he had no motion sickness. We played for over an hour in that play session. It's really a testament to the thought and that you put into this game. So I just want to say congratulations to you guys. You deserve it. Supporting VR for all these years, and still being here doing this. So I just want to say thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Yeah, we're having lots of fun doing it. So
and we love VR. So
yeah, that's awesome. And trust me, everybody listening and watching right now loves that you do that and loves that you're supporting it. And we'll hopefully they're all supporting the game. Todd, any thoughts?
Yeah, my question is, what's next for Vertex Breakers? Is there something
really
next in the pipeline? Is there something on the horizon for 2026 or 2027 that we should all be looking out for?
Well, we tend to be not looking too far in the future. I mean, we want to get the PSVR 2 right. So, the next 6 months is going to be PSVR 2
hyper focus.
mostly, and obviously we're discussing some ideas about how we can bring more content to the game as well. So we probably, when we launch for the PSVR 2, we'll probably have some extra stuff to offer to the Quest community and the Steam community as well. One important thing for us is that we want the game to be sort of platform agnostic in a way. That is, we want to have the same feature set for everyone. We want to keep the playing field level somehow, because ideally, we cannot confirm this yet, but ideally we would want to make this cross-play between PSVR 2 and Quest. There are some technical details and some discussions to be had about that, but our plan is that if we can achieve that, we want to have those 3 games keep growing at the same time. And it's not like we're leaving one platform behind. That's going to be our main focus for the next 6 months. And then beyond that, we'll see.
Absolutely. We'll see. Awesome. Guys, thank you for being here today. We know it's a hot day in France. It's getting late. It's getting later in the day as we go. So we appreciate you guys being here. This is awesome. Lots more to come from Vertex Breakers and VRacer Hoverbike. There's a lot of cool things coming down the road. Stay tuned. Get in and race. Multiplayer is amazing. Keep an eye out. Go jump into the Discord. Todd, we link the Discord in the chat when we go live.
Yeah, we'll do all the links in the chat and description. You
can get in there. You can find people who want to race with. You can chat about the game. Get in there and hang out and talk. For me, this is a game that has legs. Anything that's multiplayer that you can get in and play, people with. 30 bikes. How many 30 tracks? How many bikes, guys? 30. I know it's 30 tracks.
We got 4 bikes right now, and more coming.
Let's see. Can you show me the model of the bike you got there again? Show
there is.
Look at that. That's so cool.
3D model.
Man, I want one of these.
Yeah.
I want a real hover bike for my That's one of the cool things too. Right before we leave, I want to touch on mixed reality. This is another thing. You guys just started working on mixed reality, and you already have a very cool mixed reality thing really already, so where you can actually see your bike and see your character in your own environment, which is super cool.
Yeah, those are the little touches that we like to because we had this editor where you can actually, we haven't talked about this, but you can create your own skins on bike, and this is again another tool that I insisted that we put in, and I spent a lot of time doing making this tool work. But it's basically and you end up with some kind of Photoshop where you can just grab your bike and with a paint gun you can place decals on the bike. So it's like the things that you have in car racing games. I mean, it's every car racing game has a livery editor, but it's mostly 2D, and here you get to do that in 3D. And so I've been working for that. It's been there for quite a while now, but. And people really love it. So when we started doing the quest thing, we were like, okay, so what's next for the livery editor, And so MR was just the obvious thing. Like you want to be able to see your bike in your living room and just walk around it and paint on it and do that stuff. And so we added that and ended up working out really well. So once we had that done, we said, hey, we need to do a showroom with that. And so now we have a showroom where you can have your pilot and your bike, and you can actually even have your pilot do some dances in your living room, things like that.
The little touches that really make a difference, and really flesh out a game, and
they just make you want to go back in and play again, and go back in and play again.
Actually, we have some players who probably spend more time in the livery editor than on the track.
Right?
We spend hours doing those paintings.
Todd, get in there and make us a Q2C bike.
I think I might. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, or work with Francois Jerome, because we see if we get a Q2C bike in there.
That would be sick.
We have some of the best colors, like pink and blue. It would look cool.
That would look sick. Yep.
All right.
I can go down. Actually, when we did the videos with Beardo Benjo and Gamer Tag and everything, we had this idea like 2 days before to say that we're going to create some suits for them. And so the suits that you see in their videos, they're actually created. We just asked them to give them our logos, and we just imported the logos into the software, and we made a build. And then Jerome took like maybe 2 hours to create all those skins using the tools in the game. So there's no cheating. Those are actually suits that we're creating with the game tools.
I thought it was perfect. It's so cool.
The game are made with the tools.
Yeah, and also all the standard skins that you can purchase for the bikes in the game, they're all made with that tool. There's no trick there. I basically created the tool so that he could create those skins, and then it ended up being a tool that ends up for players.
That's awesome,
and it's amazing. There's one miss here, and that was putting Gamertag's logo on his ass. He had it on his chest. You need it on your butt. Like when you turn around, I wanted to see it on your ass.
Yeah, actually, I had this idea because I didn't tell Jerome at that time. I forgot about that. But if you put the logo on the ass, then when you're chasing someone on the race, that's basically what you see.
Yeah, you know who you're chasing.
The logo on your butt. All right, we got to get that in there. I want Todd's face on somebody's butt. All right, guys, we appreciate you being here today, man. This is just a cool story. Thanks a lot for joining us, and guys, everybody out there, go download this game, go play, get in there with some friends. It's really fast, it's fun, it's amazing. Get in there and play with us. I'll jump in there and play anytime. I mean, I'm getting this game. I love this game, man. It's so good. But I'll shoot it back to future Todd and Eric, and we'll see you guys soon.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Ace.
Okay. Bye. Thanks.